All right, hopefully. Is it the best resolution we're going to get off of this right now? Whatever. Good enough, I guess. Can't see how much of a mess I am with all the temperature change we've had lately. So, the podcast. I guess where we're going to start tonight is describing what the plan is, and then starting to brainstorm some of the process. So, I have been talking about doing some designs for a couple types of audio product, I guess. And so the question now is going to be ways to pursue doing those in a non-YouTube genre. So what I've been looking at, I did a little research into a couple hosting sites. So what I found was Buzzsprout has a free option, SoundCloud has a free option, and Podomatic has a free option. So I think what I'm going to do is try a little bit on each of them. Now, I'm debating a little bit here, a couple of the options. Oh, for pity's sake, just frickin' focus. There you go. I'm debating the ways to approach this. There is the option of doing 3 of the same thing, which isn't really what I think I want to try to do. But I'm debating. Part of this is just checking out the different platforms and seeing how they compare to one another. So ideally, you would do the same thing on all of them and see how they compare. But I suppose I could try some of that from the get-go. I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that wants to try different formats in different places. Because one of the things I've noticed, and it's something I knew going in, and I knew that was what I wanted to do anyway, was with my YouTube channel here, I have not niched down, as a lot of places say. The tendency is to say, like, if somebody comes to your website and wants to know what it is you offer, if they look through your first 3 posts and one of them is cooking and one of them is movie reviews and one of them is paintings, they're not going to see that as a thing that, oh, I want to watch and see what else they're doing in that genre. They're going to look at what you've done and just say, like, he's all over the place. I have no idea what he's doing. And so they're less likely to subscribe. That's fine. If you're looking to generate an audience quickly, that is not what you want to do. But going forward into the podcasting genre, I feel like I don't want to make that same choice. Now, there are like dozens of things I could do with this audio project approach, and I have to choose which one makes the most sense for what I want to do. But if I'm going to have 3 things that 3 different podcast hostings that I want to try, I feel like part of me just wants to say, like, all right, so do a different one for each one of them. Because if you do the same thing for all of them, and each one of them you do either all your different crazy ideas and then confuse the listeners of that one channel, or you do all of the same thing on 3 different channels, but only do one niche thing, and you neglect the other ideas that you wanted to play with. And I feel like both of those are unsatisfactory options. So I have to really sit down and think, like, what are the options available to me for pursuing some of my ideas? Now, it's possible that I can start on all of these channels, these 3 channels, and create podcasts, and then as they age out, swap them over to a slideshow on YouTube. That's totally doable. It's an interesting approach to doing some of this. So if I were to do a different style for each of the services, SoundCloud, Buzzsprout, and Podomatic, I don't think each of them has a I don't think they have that same feature of chapters that YouTube has introduced recently. So it's a little harder to do some of the choose your own adventure style. I will have to do some exploration. I won't do it tonight while I'm on camera, but I will have to do some exploration as to whether or not I could do like the 1 through 9 buttons skipping to a certain point in the story. Or if I could leave markers. I think I do recall on SoundCloud. Hang on. Story. I'm just doing a random search on SoundCloud. Let's do. Are there markers posted on videos? Can you post a marker? Okay, so how many viewers does that one have? So what I'm looking for right here is a way to indicate if you're doing a choose your own adventure story. The book format, I don't know if I have any with me right now. I don't think I do. The book format of choose your own adventure stories would do something along the lines of you'd read a page or two with an illustration, and then it would say at the end of it, do you choose to, and give you 2 to 3, sometimes 4 or 5 options. And each of those options say, if you choose to slay the dragon, whatever, if you choose to do such and such, turn to page 124. And you turn to page 124, and it would tell you the consequences of that choice. Now, one of the things I've been thinking about doing is using that feature using that technique in video or audio format, where you are narrating a story, and if you choose to take option A, click to a timestamp on the timeline. And if you do that, it will take you to the second part. Now, I don't see indicators. I could have sworn at one point when I used to use, there we go. Okay, so it's possible to flag sections with a comment. Okay, so I'm looking at a Mr. Creepypasta's story time is one of these things on SoundCloud that I'm looking at. And they have one called Cold Spot. And there are little indicators of specific commenters that they can leave their little icon at a set point in the story. So, like one of them, the one I'm looking at, Cold Spot by Mandark, has one by a name with Cyrillic letters. It says, "Creepypastas you voiceover are so terrifying, and you're really good at voice, whatever." And it's like comments pinging certain sections. I don't know, and this will be something I'll have to do once I fully sign up for a membership. I don't know, and we'll test it out, whether or not you can set who's allowed to comment or leave markers. I'm a little curious to know if I, as the creator, can leave markers at certain points and then lock it so nobody else can comment. And so I can say, if you choose such and such, go to marker such and such. And that would allow me to do Choose Your Own Adventures as an audio adventure on SoundCloud podcasting. Now, this is a tricky one because it pretty much requires that you have a visual display and be able to click to that point. I don't know. I don't know enough about the techniques of SoundCloud. I feel like I'm going to do a little testing here. No. Can I go to that point? No. Nope. I can't. Okay, that doesn't do me any good then. So I don't know. I don't know how to hack that feature, and maybe that's for the best, because I think the thing I really want to focus on mostly right now would be things I should be able to do on Buzzsprout and Podomatic that are not reliant on visual feedback. So this is going to be more of the true or false, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, sort of a quiz, Trivial Pursuit kind of thing. So I'll come up with a series of similarly themed questions, each with 2 possible courses of answer, and build that into the audio, left-right stream. And based on how you would answer that question, you either get a point or you don't get a point. And by the end, your point total tells you how victorious you are. That could be a very simple, straightforward one to do. There are also a few other that one's non-linear per se. You're basically chunking them as sections, individual components. So question 1 What is it called when a mammal is able to lay eggs? Ovipositor, or is it a monotreme? And you choose which one is the correct answer as far as you know. You pick it, you choose which earpiece you do, and then I'll tell you, ovipositor is a type of physical feature of certain insects and other creatures that are egg layers. It allows them to deposit their eggs like a certain type of wasp that injects their eggs into tarantulas, the tarantula wasp. End of story. Tells you that you didn't get it right, but gives you interesting facts about the choice you've chosen. And then you go back to both channels saying the same question. What's the difference between a dolphin and a porpoise? And give them two options and let them decide whether they're right or discover whether they're right or wrong, and the information about the choice they've made. And there's no connection between monotremes and porpoises. It's just not a connected thing. But there are questions about different types of mammals. And so that's one type of thing. The other thing I can do is do a type of story setting where each piece succeeds after the next, but one of the choices you make every turn kills you. So it's brutal. It's right or wrong, live or die. Actually, that's not a bad way to phrase it. Right or wrong, live or die. So you would necessarily want to narrate and give clues as to what direction they want to go, and then give them mental indicators of their option. And based off of the choice they make, or puzzle solving, a series of puzzles that you have to make your way through. Yeah, I think we did something similar to building that for Space Cadet. I can't remember what the puzzles were that I made. We lost them in the hard drive crash, and so I got to try to remember or rebuild that idea. But that structure was predominantly built around there's a right answer and a wrong answer at different points in the story. And if you get the right answer, it gives you points towards a success of the whole story. If you get the wrong answer, you fail, and going forward is more difficult. It's a little bit harder to do with the idea of, that's the thing, is I really want to look into the possibility of whether or not the number keys are a feature that you can use. I don't think they are. So let's see. Oh my God. SoundCloud lets you use the number keys. We're in a good spot. Oh wow. I'm super excited about that. Oh yeah. Oh, it lets you use the number keys. Oh, that's so good. I don't know if that works on mobile though. I'm gonna have to ask somebody who has a functional mobile system that can listen to SoundCloud online. Oh, that's so cool. So if I could do that number key feature, oh, that opens up some opportunities. Because when I've built the choose your own adventure style stories before, when I was trying to rework them so that they would work potentially on YouTube, one of the options I looked at was number keys. They're fairly straightforward. If you have a keyboard in front of you, you can hit 1 and it'll take you 10% in the story. So all you have to do is structure each section of your story to roughly the exact same time space. And then during the course of your story, when it comes time to make a choice, at the end of that one, you give a little bit of a, if you choose option A, go to and press number 5 on your keyboard. And it'll jump you to 50% of the way through the whole stream. But that 50% is where that next section of that story piece picks up. So I want to check something. So if I go, yep, you can jump back. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. That's super useful because it allows me at a certain point, if I wanted to jump forward and then back. So you're able to jump back around through the story. Now, the tricky part of this is with this feature, if you're using multiple choice, say you have story section 1, 2 choices. If you choose choice 1, go to section 2. If you choose choice 2, go to section 3. 1, 2, 3. So your first choice uses up 30% of your bar. Now at section 2, if you took option 2, you're in section 2. Or option 1 takes you to section 2. If you have 2 choices on that one, remember we've already gone 1, 2, 3, so the 2 choices have to be 4 and 5. But if you chose option 2, which takes you to section 3, we've already got 4 and 5. Now you got to go 6, 7 as the potential results of that. Now you have 1 through 7, and you've only made 2 choices in each of those opportunities. And 7, if you have an option at the end of 7, options, you have basically you have 4 choices at the end. You've basically gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 options. You only have 8 and 9 left. Now you could theoretically take 2 or 3 of those options and jump them back to a point of death earlier in. So you could jump them back to the mortal endings of option 2. And then your last option can take you from 7 to 8. And then 8 leads you to section 9, which is the end of the story. Or you could do 2 options at the end where you have 2 different endings, a happy ending and a sad ending, other than the death ending that you've placed somewhere in the middle. And so you can do something where it's happy ending, which would be 8, sad ending, which would be 9, and then 2 death endings. So you could potentially do this with 1, 2, 3 choices that you can make that would take you towards some conclusion of the story. And so you literally have a 3-part structure. Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. And that's if you're only giving them 2 choices at the end of each section. If you ever give them 3 options in one of them, it changes the formula slightly. So you could do first pick has 3 options. That would change it to, that would get you 7, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You literally get 2 choices. If your first option has three options, and each of those options has 2, you use up all your options by the end. So you could do a couple ways like that. You could do a couple of them like that on occasion, but it's not a lot of choices. And working within the constraint of 2 options, a right and a wrong way to go, I mean, that's doable. You can build a lot of simple story branching structures that way. It's not the best thing in the world, but it is doable. So I do think that potentially answers one of the questions I started out tonight's video with, was the 3 formats that I potentially want to do. I think I'm going to try to do choose your own adventure audio stories. 2 options every section. Okay, so SoundCloud is choose your own adventure audio stories. 3 choices. 3 binary choices, I should say. So that's definitely an option. I think what we're probably going to do is, what are the other ones? Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout, I think we can do audio adventure. Oh, no. Buzzsprout, we can do audio quizzes. Binary stereo. I'm vaguely recalling something else. Stereo. Audio. And then the last one is, I keep wanting to call it Podcasto. Is that what that is? Podomatic. There we go. Yeah. Okay, Podomatic should be a 3rd type. And I feel like we could do a little bit of both of those options, but there are a few other ideas that I have for, like, the linear narrative structures, where you would use the left and right audio channels as the mechanism by which you do that. I'm not sure. I mean, there are a couple different things we can do with this. Like, instead of doing just straight trivia. There was that sort of BuzzFeedy article thing you could do, where you could do like, not quite what character are you, but are you a Star Trek or are you a Star Wars? And, you know, just sort of give them a series of questions and let them tally up where they are at the end to find out which they are. And you can do that in a slightly different way. I mean, actually, for that one, you don't even really need the audio channels, do you? You could give somebody 4 different choices. And of the choices that they pick, give them different rewards. So, which type of which type of bender are you from the Avatar: The Last Airbender series? And so you'd give them a question of about like, are you quick to anger? If so, give yourself 4 points. If not really, but a little bit, give yourself 2 points. If not really, you would give yourself 1 point, and then absolutely not, give yourself -1 point or something like that. And by the end, you tally up your point total and see which one you are. You don't need to do the audio stuff for that. So I guess we can kind of push that one off to the side a little bit and focus more on the left-right audio experiment. So I think the structure that I was using here was a little bit more of like the mystery, like the 5-minute mystery, or the puzzle solver. It's not a knowledge test. It's a trick to figure out. So it would be, you give them all the clues. So you give them all the clues through a narrative story structure, and let them question some of the clues that are available to them. So get them into a situation where they can ask question A or question B, or look for or find certain things, depending on how they're experiencing this story. And by choosing path A, path B, they can get different sets of information, and those different sets of information might be something that they can then take towards the end scene. And we go back to the main audio channel and ask them. You're standing in the room, you're confronting your 2 primary suspects. Who do you arrest? Or some such thing. And they go through that process of saying, like, the evidence I have suggests this is the case. So you pick which channel is the right channel. And based off of your choice, you do the ending of the story and maybe reveal whether they were right or wrong. You don't necessarily have to reveal if they were right or wrong. I think that's probably the two ways I want to go with that. Mystery Solver, the trivia, and the Choose Your Own Adventure on SoundCloud. So at this point, it's down to building scripts. The trivia challenge should be one of the easiest things I can do. Choose your own adventure story with only 3 choices, which I think is the structure we were using for the Space Cadet story. I have to dig that up and see what I did with that. I think I have some hard copy notes on what I was doing with that. I may go back and see if I can rewatch the videos where I discussed it. I think I did a fair bit of the development of some of that story offline, which sucks. Because it's lost now. But I can work out some of that. And yeah, so I think the biggest difficulty one is to build a mystery where clues are gathered through left and right audio sequencing. And at the end, you uncover enough information to make your educated guess as to who the villain is. And you arrest your chosen target. And not necessarily arrest. I could do it as a space story. I could do it as a fantasy story. A horror story. Who's the changeling monster? And when you capture and confront your suspect and then you turn out to be wrong, the real one kills you from behind before you know it. You know, that kind of story idea. Ooh, I should try to get some of these going before Halloween. That would be fun. I will say one of the other things I've been playing with today was, or the last few days actually, was some of the t-shirt design stuff that I talked about before. One of the projects that was sort of in the background for a while was the idea of making a playable game of t-shirts. And I sort of have the idea of what I want to do. It's sort of like my favorite video game when I was younger was Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, when it first came out. But the Dragon Quest series has these charts of monsters, and each monster has an image, a hit points to kill, an attack, and a defense damage. Now, if you built a series of t-shirts with a picture, hit points, and attack and defense feature, that 2 people, when they see each other wearing them, can then get into a duel between their creatures. And their attack versus defense aspects, and then it's like rounds, round 1, round 2, round 3. And the winner of that competition maybe gets a picture of the defeated opponent and gets it posted to Twitter or Facebook or whatever social media platform that they do stuff with. I mean, that would be fun. I think that would be fun. So I gotta do a little brainstorming of the actual mechanisms of that. But once I have the mechanisms figured out for the combat dueling scenarios, you have the ability at that point to just design a series of monster shirts with certain sets of stats that balance for what you're doing. And then it just becomes a series of shirts with those different creatures on them. Yeah, that would be a fun project to try to get done by Christmas time. I don't know how many I could produce in that time frame. I'd want the art style to be consistent, and it needs to be a design aesthetic that holds up through expansion. So I could release like a 5 to 10 different shirts to start with, and as we proceed through subsequent years, we could do 5 different ones each year, or 3 different ones each quarter of a year. And 3-4 years out, when we're releasing hundreds new ones, their art style and the design aesthetic of the whole thing remains the same. It's sort of like you can play the Dragon Warrior 1 game and the Dragon Warrior 3 game, and yes, they have different features in them, but much of the features that you recognize from 1 will be in 3. Now, when you got all the way out to 7, they changed it to a very different style of game. It's not really my style, and I like some of the ideas that they incorporated for new elements into the new games, but they switched up enough things in it that it's not my style of gameplay. Whereas I want this style of gameplay and the artwork. I don't want somebody to have a Gen 1 shirt not be able to play with somebody with a Gen 3 shirt. I want it to be consistent. I want 1, 3, and 7 generations of this to be able to be playable together. So that's sort of on my mind right now. I've got work tomorrow. I believe my next day on is Tuesday, and then Thursday, and then next Sunday. I think that's the pattern we're going with right now. I think it works pretty well. So I will catch you then. Hope you're doing all right. I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and catch you in the next one. Until then, take care and have a good night. And I can't feel my feet.